Good morning, everybody. I'll call the MACOG meeting to order this morning here in January 10th. So welcome, everyone. From there, we'd like, James, if you'd like to do a roll call for us this morning.
I would love to, but I think you have my thing. I don't know. All right. Good morning. I'll read the roll. Please let us know if you're here. Commissioner Carl Baxmeyer. Councilman Jessica Bohannon.
Here electronically.
All right. We got you. Commissioner Mike Burrows.
Here.
District Deputy Commissioner Deitchley.
Here.
Councilman Fish. Councilman Graham. Commissioner Carrie Groninger.
Here.
Councilwoman Kathy Groninger.
Here.
Mayor Jeff Gross. Mayor Phil Jenkins.
Here.
District Deputy Commissioner Todd Johnson. Mayor Gina Lichty.
Present electronically.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mayor Robert Listenberger.
Here.
Mayor James Mueller. Mayor Rod Robertson. Councilman Mark Root. New member, Councilman Tony Violi.
Here.
Morning.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Susie Wyrick. Mayor Dave Wood.
Here.
And then we do not have a council member appointed yet from the city of South Bend. Should have that by March or April. We have a quorum of members present.
Thank you. So with that, we'll be voting.
1, 2, 3. We can only vote in person.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. From there, would like to, from a chairman, I don't know that there's anything to report from a chairman other than we have our nominating committee report, right?
That is correct. I will be presenting the nominating committee report today, as our nominating committee spent a good bit of time doing the due diligence. Oh, yeah. Before we get to that, it has been brought to my attention that we should approve the minutes from December 13th.
So moved. Second.
All those got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Motion carries. Sorry about that.
That's not a problem. I missed it as well. All right. So our nominating committee spent a good bit of time doing vetting and interviews and doing a number of due diligence, and that's apparently why they could not be here today. So I'll be doing the nominating committee report. But the proposed slate of officers that the nominating committee is putting forward would be Chair Carrie Groninger, First Vice Chair David Wood, Second Vice Chair Phil Jenkins. The new appointment would be Secretary Rod Robertson, and then Mark Root as our treasurer. That is the committee report that was provided. All those individuals have been asked if they are willing to serve, and all have answered affirmatively. So that is the slate of officers that the nominating committee has put forward.
So with that nominating committee recommendation, do I hear a motion on the floor for that approval?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. And thank you,
Thank you.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay, next on our agenda this morning is the financial report from Debbie.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
You all have the November 2023 financial report. Our year-to-date expenses through the end of November was $3,758,526.58. I will point out that we have spent a little bit more in our furniture and equipment line item, which was additional vehicles. I think last month we also had some vehicles in there. This month we had vehicles in here as well. Some of them were for our transit system, and then some were for our 53 recipients. Our cash balance at the end of November was $1,965,444.11. And our cash disbursements for the month of November was $1,101,594.69. Again, this is a bit higher than a normal month, because we also paid for those vehicles and so much we got that. So, are there any questions? Not, I'd like to ask for board approval of the November 2023 financial report.
Motion to approve the November financial reports.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And just since we do have a few new members for the financial report, just in case you were curious, MACOG follows a July to June budget cycle. So that's why when you're looking at the overall percent of budget, and you're seeing that we're at 30 or 40% spent, and it's, January, November timeframe, that maybe makes a little bit more sense. Additionally, because of the transit system that we oversee over in Elkhart and Goshen, those vehicles, as Debbie explained, are billed when we purchase new vehicles into equipment and furniture. And so that's why we do have a multi-million-dollar equipment and furniture line item. It is not because we have the latest and greatest desks, but it is because that a fixed route bus costs for $400,000 to $500,000, and we're purchasing 4 of them. And so a lot of the budget is currently pending on those vehicles coming in. That first vehicle did come in at the end of December 28th. It was a late Christmas gift to us. But there are 3 additional vehicles that are hopefully going to be here by the end of January or so. That'll start to, once we go through title work and fitting them out with all of the bells and whistles all of our technology that we put on them, that they'll enter circulation later this year. But that's where a lot of that equipment and furniture and line item is pending on those vehicle purchases. So just FYI and informational for
Can I ask
those new
another
members.
question
Yeah.
that I meant to ask before?
Sure.
Is there a reason why there's a month lag in this? Is it just you can't close the books in time for this meeting from December?
Yeah. Largely we do accrual accounting.
Okay.
And Debbie, feel free to jump in on any
Yeah,
of the technical
it's
matters.
exactly that. So we don't always have all of our invoices in before I do this report.
So if we gave you a December, we would have to come back at a later point and give you an updated December. So that's why we've always, not always, it's probably maybe been 6 or 7 years
Yeah, it's been
since
a
we
few years ago, we adjusted it because
did the month
what I
lag.
would do is I would just give the report for everything that was in up to that date. So it would say, we would say, okay, here's our December report, but it may not actually include everything in December. So then the next month it would pick up those December things, but it wasn't the actual true December income statement, I guess. I'm saying.
So what ended
So
up always happening is we would
asked to
always,
change that.
we would always have to present a June estimated at the July meeting. And then at the August meeting, we would do a final July. Or final June.
With
So,
technology
yep.
today, it's just,
Yeah.
this to me would make more sense in the old days. We had ledger sheets and.
Yeah, no, it's largely because we do accrual.
Okay.
Is
You've answered the question.
is the technical answer.
Okay. Next on our agenda this morning, Secretary Phil, you got anything to add this morning as far as?
The administrative modifications are here for those new, these are modifications that staff make and just update us. So technically there's no action required. It's just administrative changes that we've approved through other resolutions that allow them to make those changes. So James, anything else you want to add to that?
No, that is a perfect final secretary's report.
Great. Thank you. Next on our agenda, old business.
No old business today.
Okay. New business.
Yeah, Caitlin will be presenting some transportation and transit resolutions.
Good morning.
Good morning, Caitlin.
All right, for transportation resolution 01-24, we have 2 items. The first, this is not changing, but mine is changing.
Mhm. January technical hiccups, right?
Well, I can still speak.
Yeah.
So the first item is in the sponsored project along State Route 13, just north of Syracuse. This is an HMA overlay project. And our action today is decreasing the federal funding by a little over $3 million. And we're also changing the fiscal year to state fiscal year 27. So the scope of this project isn't changing. What's actually happening is projects are being taken out of the full contract. So that's more of a kind of administrative change to our transportation improvement program.
So we have, we want to vote on these individually, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll do the next one.
Okay.
So the next one is our locally initiated project by the city of Elkhart. This is the local tracks project on Highway Avenue. This is also just kind of an administrative item to our tip. We're eliminating one of the DES numbers to this project. The project has school.
Hey, Zach. We're not seeing it over here now
Over there
on the stream.
Oh, they stopped the stream. Yep.
Yep.
That's all right.
So this is just kind of removing that one DES number in our transportation improvement program. If there are no questions, I would ask for your approval of resolution 1-24.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. One question I do have though, before we vote, so that the first one there, the resolution 0124, reducing that funding by $3 million. I mean, what are they changing to reduce the cost by that much?
So they're basically removing other sections they're taking it from the contract that it was in. So it doesn't impact this particular
Okay.
location. No scope change for the
Okay.
project.
Is this one that's bundled together?
Yeah.
So essentially they have a bunch of HMA, for those not familiar, hot mix asphalt overlay projects. So a bunch of paving projects, they're all bundled together. There might be 10 of them, let's say, on the overall contract. The only one in our region might be State Road 13. So that's the only one that we're presenting because it's the only one that's pertinent to this area. But there might be some over in Noble, LaGrange, Allen County. And so that whole contract is going down by $3 million. But when it comes to the State Road 13, 1 mile south, it doesn't seem like that is seeing a major scope change, or when we followed up with them, it wasn't really impacting that. It's just coming out of the overall contract, if that makes sense.
So we do have a motion and a second. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, next, Caitlin.
All right, next up we have transit resolution 2-24. This is for Transco, and they are adding in a line item for the purchase of less than 35-foot bus for fiscal year 24. If you have no questions, I'd ask for your approval of transit resolution 2-24.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay,
Go ahead and move into our staff update.
sure.
So the first item, we mentioned this last policy board meeting, but the Community Crossing Connection Grant Program is now open. Applications are due January 35th. And just as a reminder, NDOT this year is kind of doing a pilot of increasing the maximum award grant to 1.5 million this year. And we found out that applies to all of our communities. So
Great.
That's for the whole year, 1.5 for the whole year.
It is. It's a pilot right now, but it's our understanding that that would apply to call 1 and call 2, but a cumulative for your year would be 1.5. And it is a pilot. I think there is some additional revenues that have come in over the years, experimenting with that, as well as larger awards to do more significant projects. It still does require those matches. So for counties, and I'm probably going to get this wrong off the top of my head, but for counties under 50,000 in population, 75-25. For counties above 50,000 in population, it's 50-50. For communities under 10,
believe so.
Yeah, everybody's kind of shaky on that one. We can confirm that for communities under 10, 75-25, communities above 50-50. So it is an additional award, but you do still have to provide an additional match.
Isn't that kind of reduction annually? Because we had 2 rounds, of $1 million each, right?
No, it was, you could apply for $1 million in either round, but your cumulative for the year was $1 million. Yep. So you could apply for $1 million if you didn't get it, or say you got 700,000 or something like that. You could still come back in round 2, but it was still a cumulative $1 million. So this would be an increase. It'll just be interesting to see how that plays out. You know, it could be beneficial for our counties and larger communities. Could be beneficial for some of the smaller communities if they have that match. But I think it'll just be interesting to see how the pilot plays out with NDOT.
For what it's worth, that was one of the things that one of the desires a lot of larger communities were asking. And so it's something we're able to make happen for a pilot program and hopefully continues.
When you have the largest square miles for any county in the state of Indiana, you know, an extra $500,000 could be helpful in that paving need, right?
Indianapolis qualifies for $1 million and La Paz qualifies for $2 million.
Exactly.
Great. Okay.
So next up, we have kind of an update about another grant, the RAISE grant. RAISE is an acronym for Rebuilding America Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. Federal program, you may have been familiar with it from previous versions called Tiger or BUILD. It's basically for funding relatively large projects, projects of significant local or regional impact. As I mentioned, federal program, discretionary for implementation and planning of multimodal transportation projects. It's authorized through the IJA Act. I guess that's redundant, but through IJA.
There you go.
And as I mentioned, relatively large projects, for instance, the capital projects, the minimums are $1 million for rural areas and $5 million for urban areas, and with a maximum of $25 million. I also mentioned that there was planning and implementation. So large planning projects as well. We've got one that we're heading up, putting together the connection between Mishawaka and Elkhart. MACOG's taking the lead on that, but certainly here to help if you guys have ideas or questions, interest in other similar scale programs.
And this would be competitively nationwide that would be competing for this money, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
Justin, is this going to be an annual program or is this the one time?
This has existed since the Obama administration. So it is an annual, it does require congressional, well, at least previously it's required congressional appropriation. I think under IJA it was included. But it is so far been an annual program. It has just taken on different names and then different priorities. Under the Obama administration, it was generating economic recovery, Tiger, right? And then under the Trump administration, it was BUILD. And then under the Biden administration, it's RAISE. So very similar, but it's large scale capital projects that are then competing on a national front. The RAISE program has had more planning money in it than some of the others. So if you're trying to think through, like in this case, that trail connection connecting Mishawaka to Elkhart, it's a very large project that needs some additional planning dollars. That hasn't always been, this program hasn't always provided those kind of planning funds. It's been very inconsistent, but with RAISE, it's been very consistent so far. The planning dollars are included. So
Thank you.
I would, I guess, kind of add a little plug along those lines. They, with the notice of funding that they put out, they included the schedule, the submittal deadlines for the next 2 years also.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of, I think, at least I'm interpreting that to encourage people to spend a year getting ready for next year. It is nationally competitive, so kind of getting all your ducks in a row is very advantageous.
Cool. Thank you, Dustin. Caitlin, you get something on bridge investment program?
Yeah, so this is another kind of national discretionary grant that's particularly useful for our county. It's the Bridge Investment Program. This program is a little bit different in that there's no firm deadline. They're accepting applications on a rolling basis. However, in order to be eligible for the different fiscal years pots of funding, they recommend that you get your applications in by February 19th for planning applications and then March 19th for bridge applications for this latest round of funding. So this program covers a couple different things. They cover the planning grants, which can be used for planning, feasibility analysis, environmental design, those items. There also is a large bridge component, which is for projects that are over 100 million. Then there's another component, which they're calling the bridge project component, which are for projects that are under 100 million. The minimum project cost is 2.5 million. However, it's acceptable for projects to be bundled. So eligible applicants include a variety of jurisdictions, including states, but they can also include local jurisdictions or groups of local jurisdictions. So there's kind of a variety of ways that you can put together an application. If you're interested, please let us know, and we might be able to discuss kind of some of the further details. This program also does have a small amount, I think about 5% of its allocations for culverts as well. So that's just something to be aware of if you're interested in studying further.
That's a federal program as well.
Yeah.
Has any of the 4 counties ever applied for that?
Not
I mean, with the rule call for projects and some of the other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so this is different than that kind of federal money that comes through the state. The state has always prioritized bridge investments. So we have been able to keep bridges in pretty fairly good condition through those investments. But I think it's just another opportunity to look at, there are still some of those bridges that are functionally obsolete or structurally deficient, being able to look at speeding up some of those investments if possible. So, I mean, it's a newer program. This program has not existed prior to 23 or so. So it is newer. So we're still trying to figure out, what all of that looks like and does it make sense for our region or our community. So, but it is another opportunity out there.
Is there a matching requirement?
Yeah, so it'll probably be 80-20. However, I do think if you have an off-system bridge, so like a bridge with on a local road, that they can do up to 90%.
So before we jump into plans and programs, I'm just going to put in everybody's ear. I'm not sure if I'm officially allowed to say all of it, but I'll just give you like a tease that there is going to be an announcement coming out from USDOT in either today. I've been looking at my phone, hitting refresh to see if they sent it out, but it'll be either today or later this week, where they're going to be announcing awards for one of their discretionary programs. We have been given advance notice from Congressman Yakum's office that we will see MACOG's name on that investment list.
Safe cities or safe streets?
No, a different program. So that we did receive this Safe Streets and Roads for All funds and have that for planning. We have an RFP that's out right now. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. But this is a different program under our sustainability department. And we look forward to letting you all know the details later whenever I feel like I'm allowed to. It just feels like right now it's only coming out from Congress and Senate folks of those advance notices. I don't see the USDOT announcement yet. So Happy to talk with you about it later.
Well, a little government transparency.
I mean, we're excited.
Great.
So a brief update from, I guess, the grant that we received the last year for the Regional Safety Action Plan. Those requests for proposals that we've had out through the month of December have closed. We received 4 proposals for different firms. And so staff is currently going through those proposals, scoring and evaluating them. And I anticipate probably by next policy board, we'll have that final selection for you. So excited to get that started.
Great.
Something happening in the MACOG office or virtually, but we have our quarterly tracking and review meetings. This is a chance for staff to meet with NDOT consultants and staff from our local communities, discuss the projects that are currently being developed and have a chance to kind of talk through scope, schedule, budget, sort of fun items to make sure the projects are staying on track. So that meeting will happen tomorrow morning. And then Leah couldn't be here today, but I still wanted to keep this on the agenda just to let you know that she will be holding an electric vehicle test drive event at Tyrac. If you're planning to attend, it'll be from 10 to 1 tomorrow, and registration is required, but they had to reschedule that due to the weather this week. So just wanted to let you know it's happening tomorrow. So it should be a fun event.
Great. Thank you.
Josh, so you can get your video.
Morning.
I'm here to give a quick update about dashboard and story maps, which are currently live on our website. So first thing first, regional traffic count dashboard. We already have this dashboard on our website, but it was in a different interface with different software. But this is a relatively new interface and with some added features. So quickly play a video so that way. Yeah. So the filters include, like, you can select by counties and see, let's say if you want to see master counties, traffic count locations, you can see. If you want to see it by street, let's say if you want to see, select State Road 10, you just type it or select it and you will see all the data that has been collected historically for State Road 10 and download the data. Or else, if you are familiar with the site ID, you type the site ID number and you'll get it on this dashboard. And you can see the historical data that has been collected for that particular site. Or else, if you want to see from January 23, 1st January to 31st January 23, which are the locations that has been collected, you filter it out that way. Or else, filter it out by the number of vehicles on the road. And pretty much similar for the total trucks or single unit trucks. And the new thing that has been added is the indicators. If you select particular site location, you'll be able to see the recent ADT on that particular road, speed, AM peak volume, and PM peak volume, which was not part of the previous dashboard. And by filtering out any of the data, there's a small download button over here. You can download the data and get it in the Excel file. So, yeah.
Wow. Tech committee, your T-Tech committee knows all about that.
Yeah, we did a presentation to the technical committee, the engineers and planners last week to show them this. This is always a good resource for you as elected officials, our technical folks, our engineering community. This is NDOT facilities. It's all your local facilities, anywhere that we're counting traffic. There's over 4,000 some locations throughout the 4 counties, as well as parts of Michigan, and then areas that we count in traffic for NDOT. And so you can kind of see all of that and access that. And this provides some advanced features that we didn't have previously. It also moves a lot quicker. And inside baseball, it uses a program that we were already paying a license for. The previous program that we were using was a specialized license. So it's also cost savings for our organization because we're able to dump a license because we're now able to just better use our GIS dashboard that we already had a license for. So greatly appreciated from an internal efficiency as well as just making the data even more accessible. So really appreciate it.
The US 30 and 31 consultants know about this as well.
We always try to make sure that any planning consultants are fully aware that we have that data, or if it needs to be updated. And this is an important thing for you all to think through as you're hiring engineering folks. You're already indirectly through your membership or through the county's membership paying a local fee, and that local fee is used to do some of this work. And so while you could pay a consulting firm their market rate to do these traffic counts, we will gladly do them at the cost of free for you. And so a lot of times our engineering community already knows that, and so they'll make those requests through local governments to us. But it's a very different rate of free versus private entity consultant market rate. And so use your engineering community at their highest and best use for designing your project. If you need data collection, we're more than happy to do that for you for free.
Thank you, James. Thank you. Great stuff.
And the new dashboard. So we have been collecting bike and pedestrian data since 2020. So there are two kind of counters out there. One is permanent counters, which collects all the bike and pedestrian data for 24 hours, 365 days. And ones, those are like mobile counters, which collects data for a particular time frame, like 15 days or 10 days for 24 hours. So the purpose of this dashboard is like to see, to show the annual count for the most recent year, the 2023 data. So a quick video about it. You can select it by parks. Let's say if you want to see the data of Twitter Park, just play on it, and you will see the daily average users of Twitter Parks. So in 2023, it was like 492. The daily average pedestrians were 436, and the daily average cyclists was around 56 in the Twitter Park in the year of 2023. The total users was like around 180K, and out of that, 89% were pedestrian and 11% were cyclists. This graph shows the monthly total visitors like in January, March, and how it was around the year. So the peak time frame, you can see like it was around 22K in the month of July. And where else you can also download the data of hourly traffic, average hourly traffic. So this is how it looks like for an average pedestrians, how it goes. Like the highest peak period is like around 60 during the Sunday. So it's basically all the data through Park. Same with the cyclists, and download the data to get access with. Another is like selecting by county. You can see and see by, for example, Elkhart County, it was like around 250K users in total till now. If you want to see by community, select the Goshen, and you'll see average daily pedestrians or daily users were around 234. Or you can merge it and see it. Or else you can also see it by the date and the month of January, how many total users were there in entire MACOG region, and you'll get the data for it. So, but the dashboard is like limited to the most recent year, 2023. The next update will be in 2024.
How many locations are you monitoring that? As far as how many cameras or counters or?
Yeah, so as Raj mentioned, we have permanent locations, which those are a post that has infrared, and then we have an inductive loop that's in the ground. We have eight of those. There's one on the Pumpkin Vine right over by Shipshawana where it kind of outlets. There's one on the Pumpkin Vine by Middlebury. There's the Mill Race in Goshen. There are 3 in the city of Mishawaka. I want to say Buter Park, and then 2 on the Riverwalk. And then there's one on the new portion of the coal line. And I'm probably forgetting one. The LaSalle Trail up in St. Joe County as it comes in and out of Michigan, that trail network there. And there's probably 1 or 2 others that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but there's 8 currently. We have one that's supposed to come online down in Winona Lake on the Heritage Trail there. And then I know we had one that was offered to Elkhart to try and look at putting it on either the new portion of the trail or the Maple Heart or somewhere in that kind of area, as well as I thought we were looking at one on the Greenway. But I can't remember off the top of my head. We do have the ability to expand this network. So if you're going, oh, we really think that what we've tried to do is target kind of the backbone portions of the trail system. So areas that are going to see that kind of big usage is what we're really looking for to get kind of the base levels. If you have project specific requests or you want to see how a particular trail is doing, we also have the mobile counters. So we're able to set those out. We did some at Marshall County's Pond Park to see how what that was looking like, or we did some on the trail over in Napanee, and we can set those out 10, 15, 20 some days, just to be able to get what the usage is looking like. So we do have the ability to expand this network. But we felt like these starting locations really helped provide, an interesting set of kind of data. There's a lot that you can get out of this. There's a lot of unsurprising things. A lot of trail usage happens on Saturdays and Sundays or on weekdays after, 5 p.m. Hey, our trail usage peaks in June, July, and for some odd reason, January and February and December aren't good months for trail usage, right? There's lots of unsurprising components. But there's also other elements where we have this data by hour, and you can see kind of that heat map. You can see, for example, if you have a trail and you're trying to consider whether or not it needs lighting, you can see what your current usage looks like and how late in the day that those folks are going and what that looks like over month. So there's lots of different ways that you can use this data. There's lots of different kind of analysis, and then we're going to be collecting it moving forward, so you'll be able to see how that changes year over year as well. So.
Yeah. Quick question. You say it's updated annually, it's not monthly?
No, it's updated annually.
We're getting the data daily, technically. The dashboard production right now is an annual production, if that makes sense.
It does. But
like if you needed to see it, there's an internal dashboard that we have where we can pull it up live. If that makes
is
sense.
there a reason why it couldn't be done, let's say quarterly, at least as a start to make it more timely?
I think we'll definitely be looking at that cadence. We really wanted to get the first production
No, I
out.
understand,
Yep.
but-
Yeah. I think a more frequent production is something that we're going to look at. So we'll see what 2024 kind of holds. But we do always have that ability to pull that up more frequently.
Two
Yep.
questions I've asked all about time limits. So-
Hey, you're all right. You're good. We love it.
So this dashboard was more about permanent counter. Now, what about the data that has been collected since 2020? So how about last 3 years, and how about mobile counter? So we have summarized all the data in a story map where you can see it park by park. You can click on that park and see what was the trend in since 2020. So this basically summarizes everything about the parks. And the introduction, story behind the counters, where are the locations of it. So, yeah. So this is how the permanent counter and looks like, and this is how the mobile counter look like. And these are all the locations of eco counters. So the blue one represents the mobile counter in the MACOG region, and the red ones represents the permanent counter in the region. The next one is like overall trend to the permanent counters. How if you want to compare like how the Butte Park was compared to Central Park, so you can see that okay, this is what the trend has been.
If any of the mayors want to get into a competition about, let's see whose counter does better in July, right? Like that's all there for you.
This is a quick example of how an individual parks look like. So first you will see the key statistics. So in total since 2020, how many visitors has been visited the Buta Park, what's the annual comparison look like, how many percentages was down, how many percentage it went up. The next one is like particular to a month, so you can see the the summarized chart for pedestrian and cyclist in the month from July 2020 to July 23. And this is the heat map that James was just talking about. You can actually see what in average numbers of pedestrians look like on the hourly basis. So you can see like mostly like in June, you can see the at 7 p.m. There are more number of pedestrians visiting in the Buta Park, and same with the cyclists. Yeah. This basically summarizes everything about each and individual part. So you can get the data, and if they want, if any user want more data, they can reach out to us and we'll give the data to them.
Okay. Really nice.
James, can you just go to the website? We've got a kind of a maps section in there. It's got a lot of data. Could we link to this?
I'm sure we could. Yeah, I'm sure there's probably lots of different ways that could be done, either through this link is live and it's on our website and we can get that to you, or there might even be ways to give you a widget and then you can have just your stuff displayed on your site. So I'm sure there's lots of different ways that we can talk through that.
There's a business development.
Yep. Yeah. I'm sure Raj can help you all out with any of that. So we just need to get the right people linked together. Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool stuff. Okay, last or on the agenda next is privilege of the floor. Anybody have anything to bring to the board this morning?
I am just going to point out that we do have 2 new board members here today. You met Mayor Robert Listenberger last month, but today's his official first meeting with Mayor City of Plymouth and Councilman Tony Violi. There you go. I told you I was bad with phonetics, but recently appointed as of, was it last night?
Last week.
Oh, last week. Yeah, there we go.
I'm glad you sent me the emails.
Yep. So wanted to welcome both of them. Tony's a councilman with the city of Mishawaka. So wanted to make sure that you knew those new members. We also have member Jeff Gross, mayor, city of Warsaw, who is brand new. He was going to be here. I have heard that he may or may not have showed up to our offices in South Bend. He should be here next month. So, but wanted to welcome all those new members.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, how about public comment? Anything in the audience or online we need to check?
Not aware of anything online.
Okay.
Don't see anything in
Move to
person.
adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Oh, I do want to point one thing out real quick. The next meeting conflicts with much of the executive committee, Mayor Wood, Mayor Jenkins, Councilman Groninger, and myself attending a national conference in Washington, D.C. So we will not be having that February meeting because we'll all be in Washington, D.C. So 3 members plus myself. So we will give you back your second Wednesday morning of February, and we'll see everybody in March. So just wanted to make sure that you're aware.